In math, when we see the title Models and Applications, basically this is just code for word problems. But we're not going to be afraid. We're going to go through these pretty basic, not too difficult word problems, and hopefully you can kind of catch on to the pattern of what's going on in these problems. The first one says, when 2 times a number is decreased by 3, the result is 11. What is the number? So the number is what we're trying to find, and whenever something's missing, we always have a variable to fill in for that. So we'll let x equal the number. And then let's just follow the sentence. 2 times a number, so 2x, decreased by, if you're decreasing, you're subtracting, 3. The result is 11, so it equals 11. So there's the setup for that. Now let's solve. We want to get x by itself. To get rid of minus 3, we add 3. And we have 2x equals 14. And then divide by 2. So x equals 7. When a number is decreased by 30% of itself, the result is 28. What is the number? This is similar to the last problem we did, but there's a percent involved. To find the percent of something, we change the percent to a decimal by moving the decimal 2 places to the left, and then we multiply. So if we let x equal the number, then it says when a number is decreased by, so the number decreased, again is subtraction, 30% of itself. So I need to change 30% to 0.30. And whenever you're finding the percent of something, you always have to multiply it by an amount. You can't just leave the 0.30 there by itself. So 30% of itself, meaning the number. So you write it like that. The result is 28. Then on the left side, I've got 1x minus 0.3x would give me 0.7x, or 70, you can have the 0 or not, equals 28. Then divide both sides by 0.7, and x is 40. When 80% of a number is added to the number, the result is 252. So again, we have a percent problem, and we're trying to find a number, so we'll let x equal the number. And we need 80%, so I need to change 80% to 0.80. 80% of a number means 0.80 times that number. Then is added to, so plus the number, x, and the result is 252, equals 252. So 80% of the number is 0.80x, added to the number, plus x, result is 252. Now on the left side, I can combine 0.80 plus 1, which would be 1.80, x, equals 252. Then divide both sides by 1.80 or 1.8. And the result is 140. 252 divided by 1.8. One number exceeds another number by 24. The sum of the numbers is 58. What are the numbers? In problems that ask you to find two numbers, it's usually best to let x equal the smaller number. So we'll write let x equal the smaller number. And then the other number exceeds by 24. So it would be 24 more than the smaller. X plus 24 would be the larger. The sum of the numbers is 58. Sum means add. So when I add the smaller and the larger, I get 58. So the smaller is x plus the larger, x plus 24, equals 58. On the left side, I can add 1x plus 1x and get 2x. Now subtract 24. 2x equals 34. Divide by 2. And x is 17. Now, always go back and read the original problem and see what's being asked for. Are they asking for just one of the numbers, the smaller one, the larger one, or both? So this problem is asking what are the numbers. It wants both numbers. So 17 would be the smaller one. And then to get the larger one, you have to add 24 to that. So 17 plus 24 is 41, and that would be the larger. So the problem asked for both. Always go back and reread the original problem and make sure you answered the questions. This problem has a little graph about how much time you spend doing different everyday things during a life expectancy of 78 years. And the problem says, according to the American Bureau of Labor Statistics, you will devote 32 years to sleeping and eating. The number of years sleeping will exceed the number of years eating by 24. Over your lifetime, how many years will you spend on each of these activities? So, again, we're asked for two different numbers. And the best thing to do is assign the variable to the smaller number. It says that sleeping will exceed eating. That means sleeping is larger than eating. So we want to set up eating as our variable. Let's just use E. Years eating. And then sleeping exceeds that by 24. So if we add 24 more, that's going to be the years sleeping. In the first sentence, it says we will devote 32 years to eating and sleeping. So both of those activities together add up to 32. So if we add the eating plus the sleeping, we get 32. Now on the left side, I can combine like terms. 1e plus 1e would be 2e's. And then subtract 24. So 2e equals 8. Divide by 2. E is 4. So 4 years eating. And the problem wanted to know about both activities. So sleeping is 24 more years than that. So 28 years sleeping. A new car worth $45,000 is depreciating in value by $5,000 per year. Depreciating means going down in value. The car is losing value. So we would need to subtract if something's going down. Now part A just wants the formula, using Y for what the car is worth after X number of years. So for part A, Y, what the car is worth, would be what we started with, 45,000, and we're losing, so subtract $5,000 each year. We don't know how many years, but we know there are X years, so $5,000 times X. So that's all they want for part A. And so Y is the value of the car, and X is the number of years. That's how they told us to set it up. Now let's look at part B. Use the formula from part A to determine after how many years the car's value will be 10,000. So we know that the value is Y, not X. If the value is 10,000, then we need to put the 10,000 in for Y. Okay, now we can solve that. Let's subtract 45,000 from both sides. $10,000 minus 45,000 is negative 35,000 equals, and be careful you don't accidentally drop that negative off of the 5,000. It's negative 5,000x. Divide by negative 5,000. And x is 7. Remember we said x is the number of years, so it's 7 years. Now go back and see what they're asking us to do. Determine after how many years the car's value will be 10,000. So they wanted to know how many years, and we found how many years, so that one's finished. You need to rent a rug cleaner. Company A will rent the machine for $22 plus $6 per hour. Company B will rent the same machine for $28 plus $4 per hour. After how many hours of use will the total amount spent at each company be the same, and what will that total amount be? So we have two different companies with two different descriptions, so let's write down what we know. Company A, we have to pay $22 no matter what, and then we need to add on to that $6 for every hour we use the machine. You can use any letter you want, but H for hour kind of makes sense. And then for company B, it costs us $28 no matter what, and then we add on to that $4 for every hour we use the machine. So there's got to be some point where one is cheaper than the other, and then after a certain amount of hours, then the other one is cheaper. And then there's also a moment when there's a certain amount of hours that the cost is exactly the same, and that's what they're asking us. So the same means equal. So we're going to set those two equal to each other. 22 plus 6h equals 28 plus 4h. Now then, I need to get my h's together. So let's subtract the 4h from the right side and the left. 22 plus 2h equals 28. Subtract 22. 2h equals 6. Divide by 2. H is 3. So after 3 hours, if I use a machine for 3 hours, it doesn't matter which one I use, A or B, the cost is going to be the same. So that answers the first question they ask. After how many hours will the total amount be the same? Then they ask a second question. What will be the total amount spent at each company? So if I know I have used the machine for 3 hours and they're both the same, I can plug the 3 back in for H in either A or B. It doesn't matter, because at 3 hours they both cost the same. So let's just plug it back into company A. So company A after 3 hours would be 22 plus 6 times 3, which is 22 plus 18, which is 40. So it costs $40 to rent the machine for 3 hours using A or B. If we had put the 3 back into company B, it also would have come out to be 40 hours. Including 5% sales tax, an inn charges $252 per night. Find the inn's nightly cost before the tax is added. So when you think about purchasing something, think about how it works in real life. You have however much something costs, plus the tax gives you the total. So thinking about that, we don't know how much the cost is before the tax is added on. That's what they're asking. So we'll let that be X. The cost is X. Now the tax. The tax is 5%. So we did a couple of problems earlier where we're figuring a percent. Move the decimal 2 places to the left, so it'll be 0.05. And that 0.05 never just sits by itself. It's always multiplied by what you're finding the percent of. We're finding 5% of the cost, which is X, equals the total, 252. So cost plus tax. We can add those together. 1x plus 0.05x would be 1.05x equals 252. And then divide by 1.05. 252 divided by 1.05 is 240. Now, is that what they're asking for? X is the cost, and that's what they're asking for. Find the inn's nightly cost before tax, and that's what X is. So that problem is finished. A rectangular swimming pool is 3 times as long as it is wide. If the perimeter of the pool is 320, what are the dimensions? Again, they're asking us to find 2 things, a length and a width. That's what the dimensions would be. And so it's always best to let your variable equal the smaller value, which would be the width. So let's have W equal the width. And I think it's helpful when you've got some sort of geometric shape involved to draw a picture of what's happening. So we've got the width. And then it says that it's 3 times as long as it is wide. So the length would be 3 times the width, like that. So 3W is the length. They tell us what the perimeter is. Perimeter means you add up all the sides. So if we add up all the sides, that's W plus 3W plus W plus 3W, and it comes out to be 320. So combining all of the W's on the left side, 1 plus 3 plus 1 plus 3, that's going to be 8 W's equals 320. Divide by 8. And so our width is 40, and they're talking about feet, so it's 40 feet. Now, just because I have an answer doesn't mean I've answered their question. Their question is, if the perimeter is 320, what are the dimensions? Dimensions would be both length and width. I've got the width. Now the length is 3 times the width, so it would be 3 times 40, which is 120 feet. Now, the remaining problems we're going to do have to do with rearranging formulas, which is something that has to be done often in science and in business. So, this problem says solve D equals RT for R. I want to get the r by itself. So think about how you solve any equation. To get a letter by itself, you do the opposite of what's being done to it. The r is being multiplied by t. So the opposite of multiply is divide. I want the r by itself, so I divide by t. And the t's cancel. Then we have d over t equals r. R is by itself, so that's all you do with that. That one's finished. Solve v equals 1/3 bh for b. We want to get the b by itself. I can get rid of the 1/3 by multiplying by 3. 3 over 1 is what cancels 1 over 3. You flip it. So if I multiply the right side by 3 to cancel it, I also have to multiply the left side by 3. Then we have 3v equals b times h. And again, I'm trying to get the b by itself. It's being multiplied by h, so to get rid of multiply, we divide. 3v over h equals b. And then our last problem, solve c equals 2 pi r for r. The r is being multiplied by both the 2 and the pi, and you can get rid of those at the same time. Since it's being multiplied by 2 pi, we can go ahead and divide by 2 pi all at once. C over 2 pi equals r, and then that one's finished.